I want to take time in today's service to acknowledge what has become known as Black History Month. I realize that sometimes we don't know the background of how things come about, and it can cause us to therefore not be sure how to respond. I've even heard or read where people would say something like, well, when is White History Month? Or why is there all this emphasis on race? The origins of Black History Month come from further back in history than I realized, almost 100 years. From History.com, I learned this. The celebration of Black History Month began as Negro History Week, which was created in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, a noted African American historian, scholar, educator, and publisher. It became a month-long celebration in 1976. The month of February was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. President Gerald Ford officially recognized Black History Month in 1976, calling upon the public to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Since 1976, every American president has designated February as Black History Month and endorsed a specific theme. For our purposes here, I would like to acknowledge that this reality of the accomplishments and contributions of Black Americans, or Black people universally, being too often neglected, it's true in our church history too. We have made a commitment here at Vienna Assembly of God to stand against racism and to be active in promoting justice. One way to do this is to simply highlight and celebrate the contributions of Black people in our church history. As an Assemblies of God church, we especially can point directly to William J. Seymour as the leader of the Azusa Street revival that birthed the modern-day Pentecostal movement from which the Assemblies of God were born. For all Christians, we can be thankful for the birth of the church in Africa in the earliest times of the early church, evidenced by the story in Acts of Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. That early African church produced some of the most important leaders of church history, including Tertullian, Origen, Athanasius, who was present at the Council of Nicaea, which determined what Orthodox Christianity is and setting the foundation for the canonization of Scripture, and Augustine, who was rooted in Algeria. Dr. Will Gravely said in an interview I listened to this week, the history of the Black church, why is it important? That becoming aware begins to dismantle this notion that Christianity is a white religion or tradition, that the churches in Europe are the flagship spaces of theology. Just by casual exposure, he said, to church history, you understand how critical the Black church has been all the way from the time of Jesus up to now. And in this present day, I have been in the learner's seat listening to and gaining so much wisdom from many teachers, speakers, leaders, theologians who are non-white, especially African American. If we, as a culture and basically as the human race in general, had not managed to develop such a segregated culture, then maybe this wouldn't be necessary. Maybe there'd be no need for a Black History Month. Maybe we'd have a fully orbed, inclusive recognition of all people's influence in history without having to make this special intention to recognize them. But the truth is, We all become insulated within our own circles, and we must recognize that God is at work in and through all his children. And I want to encourage us to be open to celebrate that.